I want to talk this morning a little bit about the idea of giving and what it means to give and how important it is to give. And when giving is a way of life, when giving is a natural something, when giving Scripture says, it already said, freely ye have received, freely shall ye give. Well, what have we received? What have you received? I mean, why give? You know, there's a lot of, for those of you that just took the spiritual economics class, realize that in one of the sections we talked about that there's Butterworth, one of Butterworth's opinions is that there's the world kind of generally broken up into two types of people. There's the givers and the takers or the getters, right? Right? Let me get. And then there's the let me give. And when we talk about freely have ye received, freely shall ye give, I think the first part of that is freely ye have received. So then, freely shall ye give, right? Well, do we contemplate often enough what I have received? You know, not that from a spiritual standpoint, if we're in kind of this game long enough, we realize that giving is just a spiritual practice. It's something that's appropriate to give to each other, to give compliments, to give a helping hand, to give money, to give, et cetera, et cetera. We give. And we realize that it feels good, but sometimes it's important to understand, well, what have I received? What is this freely have I received what? Well, I think ultimately what we're talking about, freely ye have received this breath, this idea of life, this idea of livingness. And then what happens is sometimes we get so caught up in the stuff of the world, as Brother DeVoe was talking about. We get so caught up in the stuff of the world that we find ourselves gripped by the claws of it and forget that actually to be alive is a blessing. And we go through periods of time where life doesn't feel like a blessing, does it? It's okay to admit. Sometimes life doesn't feel like a blessing. Admit it. Sometimes it feels hard. Sometimes it feels incredibly challenging. It doesn't like maybe sometimes this whole human game, maybe sometimes it's not the most fun, is it? And then sometimes it's a lot of fun. But to bring it into proper perspective, sometimes it's important to understand that the thing that we've been given is life. And that when we can find our way through the trials and the tribulations and to have proper context of it, which we explored a little bit last week, that there's a time for death, there's a time for bewilderment, and there's a time for life, and new expression, new being, a time to express. And so many Ernest Holmes, Walter DeVoe, Walter Drew. When you hang around and study these people long enough, you realize that they just talk about giving as a spiritual practice. How appropriate and important it is to give as a spiritual practice. So what have I received? I've received life. And whether it's going well or not doesn't take away from the gift that I've received freely is this thing called life. Life continues lifing. So there's something important to understand that even though I personally, that's all I can speak from, I don't know what happens after we lay down the body, somehow life must know life. And we've talked about this before, that something about, energy continues to express itself as energy and it just changes forms, scientific for bigger brains than mine. But someone told me that once and I believe them because they have a bigger brain than mine. That life will continue to express itself. And so, I was watching, I'm kind of off on a little bit of a tangent, but like whenever a death is announced, like the Pope died, yes? We're grateful for the Pope's life. The Pope died and this figure died and that figure died, and people always announce death as like a tragedy. Oh, and it was a tragic week this week, such and such died. And I don't ever think about it like that. I have my heartstrings, when my mom dies, I'm going to be sad. There'll be some feeling that goes along with it. When my dad died, I was sad, I was in shock. When my grandfather died, I was sad. When my grandmother died, we're all going to die. Yeah! It's going to happen. What are we doing with our livingness? No. So that it's not so that what if the world didn't see death so much as a tragedy anymore? And some are tragic, I understand. Some we call them tragic because they're a shock to the system. They're out of nowhere, right? We weren't expecting it, which makes it more of a shock. When my grandfather passed, he had been ill for a while. So it was something that took a little more time to get used to. And he lived a good life. My grandmother, we had plenty of time to get used to her passing. She was like, we were ready. Like she was like, Graham, what's next? I mean, go be with Grandpa. Let's go. 101. That's a good full life. You really, right? Really? You know, we were ready. And there's sometimes when it's a shock when we're not ready. And yet it's going to happen for all of us. But do we consider enough what we're doing with our livingness, with our life while we're here? So it's not so much of a tragedy when we hear about laying down the life. I don't want it to hear like when I die, I don't want to hear, whatever that might look like or sound like, that it was tragic somehow, that somehow I want my life to be a contribution. Somehow I'm interested in each one of our lives being a contribution. And that means that we're giving. And can we focus more on giving? There's a time to get, there's a time to let, there's a time to give. There is a time to get. Taking is different than getting. There's a time to get. There's a time to get healthy. There's a time to get paid. There's a time to get a new job. There's a time to get. And there's a time to let, when you're just like kind of in neutral. When you're in just, let me behold. Let me bear witness to life. And there's a time to give. And today I just want to focus for a little bit on that time of giving. Are we in giving? And the things that we complain about, the things that we see trouble with the world, are we just stuck in that mode of complaining about it, or is there something that I can do about it? Is there something I can give to the world? And the world doesn't look like the entire world. Like I don't need to have a YouTube channel with 8 billion subscribers for it to be impactful, do I? I just need to have a person, a community, somebody that I can give to. And that changes something. We talk about the ripple effect, right? We talk about when I make a contribution to somebody, then somebody, hopefully that's inspiring them to also make a contribution to give. That whole idea of paying it forward, right? Was that popular before the movie came out? The whole idea of pay it forward? Have you guys seen that movie, Pay It Forward, by the way? It's a good movie, right? The idea of paying it forward. Most of the time when somebody's inspired, they're then inspired. If I'm inspiring somebody, somebody else is inspired to go do something else. Ernest Holmes talks about the law of circulation like this. Freely ye have received, freely give, in quotes. From Matthew 10:8 for you Bible folks. When the law of circulation is retarded, stagnation results. It is only as we allow the divine current to flow through us and out that we really express life. The law of giving and receiving is definite. Emerson tells us to be aware of holding too much good in our hands. Any fishermen in here? Fisher women? Fisher people? Anybody fish? Like fish? You try to hold a fish in your hand, you know what happens? You try and squeeze it too tight, it's going to flop right out. Right? Thank you, John. Yes, my brother, my man. Because of the unity underlying all life, no man lives entirely, no person lives entirely unto themselves. But through themselves, they live unto the whole, which whole embodies all other lives. Dig this now. Therefore, he, in quotes, he that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life shall find it. It's the same thing that Walter DeVoe was talking about. If you're gathering unto yourself too much, it's like, I don't have, I need to constantly get. But when you have it, you're giving it. And then you feel the richness of sharing and expressing and participating with others in the midst of that. Yes? He that find his life will lose it, and he that lose his life shall find it. This is Jesus just being all Jesus. Like what? And then you perceive it. And you get what Jesus was really saying. See, Jesus, the genius of Jesus was in the simplicity with which he taught. When a person's thought rests entirely upon themselves, they become abnormal and unhappy. But when they give themselves with enthusiasm to any legitimate purpose, being themselves in the thing which they are doing, they become normal and happy. Only as much life enters into us as we can conceive, and we conceive of life in the larger sense only when there is complete abandonment to it. Let the one who is sad, depressed, unhappy find some altruistic purpose into which he may pour his whole being, into which she may pour her whole being, into which they may pour their entire being, that they will find a new inflow of life of which they have never dreamed. Some altruistic purpose, something, a friend in need, a beneficial cause. First and foremost with yourself in the morning, waking up, getting out of bed. I am God's beloved in whom God is well pleased. Not from an ego standpoint, but from freely I have received. Let me receive today the gift of life. When I roll up out of bed and I throw my legs over the bed, and it looks just like that. I have received life yet again today. How shall I give it? Where can I give it? And there are definite places to give it and definite ways to give it, definite methods to give it. We have places we can, and means by which to do it. We have the big 3 T's, right? Time. We can give our time. We can give of our gifts, of our talent, and we can give of our treasure, our money. To make the places that we are better, to give, to share what we have and who we are, to give. Giving grows the heart. Giving grows each of us. Where can I give? If my mind is so much, and I'm intimately familiar with this, gang, if my mind is so much set on me, I am an unhappy person. I know this from the laboratory of my own life, because I think I hope that I'm getting better at it. You know what I'm saying? I hope that I'm a little more generous every day. I hope that I am. I pray that I am. I want to be. Because I know those times in my life where it's been all about me, and I know the places that's taken me, the darkness that it's taken me to, but the light starts to come in when I think of others, and I think about what I can share. I think about what I can give. I think about how I can live. Freely I have received, freely I want to give. So I ask you the question again, what are you aware of that you have received? To consider that this week. What blessings and gifts of life have you received? What have you received in your life? The blessings, the goodness. Are you blessed with financial wealth? Are you blessed with time? Are you blessed with a particular skill? Can you sing? Can you dance? Are you blessed with the capacity to be an empathic and compassionate listener? Are you blessed with the ability to move? Are you blessed with a car that could drive you to the nursing home? I don't know. I don't know. Whatever it is, the active living space. Are you blessed with transportation that can get you from here to there? Are you blessed with a mind that has the ability to think? Are you blessed with the mind that knows that 2 + 2 = 4? And therefore, maybe you could go tutor. What can I give? What am I blessed with? That's your homework for the week. What am I blessed with? What do I have? And I know that as I share it, more shall be added unto me. That is the promise. I have the gift of being able to pick up the phone when somebody calls. Like, I don't have that. Like, when somebody calls, I'm like, maybe I'll answer it, maybe I won't. Some people just pick the phone up. They're like, whoever's on the other line, I'm going to talk to them. And they have the gift of gab, and they'll just listen and they'll talk. What gift do you have? I'm interested in knowing this week what gift you have and how you can share it. The ways that you can share it. I'm not personally interested in knowing. I'm interested in knowing that for you. You don't have to. If you want to, email me, charlessfcsl@gmail.com. Tell me the gifts that you have and how you're sharing them. I'd love to hear from you about that. The gifts that you have and how you're sharing them. The gift of sobriety and being able to listen to somebody else that's struggling with an addiction. Something. The gift that's alive within you. So I invite you just for another moment to take a deep breath and turn your attention inward. And ask yourself again, what gifts do I have? And even make a mental list. If you've got a pen and paper, make a written list. But even a couple of gifts. What gift is alive within you? And how now, this week, can you give it? And it doesn't have to be a heroic effort, but to somebody else, but to some other entity, it may appear as a heroic effort. But for you, it's simply giving. What is there to give? Consider that for a moment again. In what ways am I blessed? Time, money, talent, treasure. And how will I share that this week? One of the gifts that I'm aware of that was given to me as a youth was mentors. A lot of mentors in my life, especially as a teenager. And one of the things that I love to do is work with the teens down at the teen center and sharing that mentorship that I've received so freely. Freely had I received the gift of mentoring. Freely I want to give the gift of being a mentor. What gift have you received in your life, and what is being called to be given? That is the question of the week. I invite you to consider that and know, absolutely. One more prayer from Brother Ernest Holmes as we wrap this time up. The gifts of God are mine today. Ernest Holmes said, "It's the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom of heaven, or harmony and abundance. Today, God opens to me the blessings of its infinite and eternal treasure, inviting me to dip deeply into it. It's infinite, and as I believe in my heart, so it is done unto me in all things. As I ask, so do I receive. A full measure unto my faith, pressed down and running over. These and other divine promises and assurances sing in me. The still small voice reminds me that the Father, that all that the Father hath is mine. This day I listen deeply to that still small voice and believe its promises. I fear nothing, neither lack, limitation, disappointment, nor distress of any kind. For is the Father always with me? What caused the appearance of lack in my life? Simply my fear, or my belief that God could forsake me, or my belief that God could forsake me is that God possibly could forsake me. I do not believe that now, and it no longer matters to me what is the appearance of today or what has gone before. Today is new, and I am newly awakened in it, and I believe with dauntless faith that my good, in full measure, comes to me from God today. Today is new, and I am newly awakened in it, and I believe with dauntless faith that my good, in full measure, comes to me from God today. I now believe that it is indeed God's good pleasure to give me of its bounty. I know that God gives as I ask, without question or limit, and I am ready to receive. The gifts of God are mine today. Freely do I share them. And so it is.